Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Joy Journeying with Jen. I'm Jen. And this month, as you've been seeing the pattern here, we're celebrating the Fierce Awakening's second anniversary of publishing. We published on the solstice of September 2023. And we're breathing more life into this book. And particularly, I am teaming up with my co-author, Sarah Hoskin, who is doing a series of Wisdom of the Well, where she is communicating and creating. And as part of that journey, she is interviewing some of our co-authors. So I'll put a link on where you can find some of that. But in parallel, what I'm doing is revisiting the stories of 12 women who participated, me plus 11 other women. I was the lead author and developmental editor of the book. And now, at this stage of life in 2025, I am going through some pivots, and it involves shedding old identities and old beliefs and being comfortable in this liminal space of who I was and who I'm becoming and not knowing how all this fits together yet. Like the steps haven't been given to me in a big blueprint or a big map. They're dripping out very, very slowly, and it's very uncomfortable for me. Um, I'm used to seeing the full way in the big picture, and right now all I'm getting is these little tiny, tiny steps that I can keep taking. And as I do that, I'm resourcing myself with this book, not only with the women's stories, not only reconnecting with their stories, but using their prompts and using their inspiration to know that whatever I'm going through is okay. So today, I want to introduce you to my co-author, Kathy Gates. And she is trained in trauma, and she's cross-trained in body work and somatic release. And she is the owner and founder of the State College Healing Room, a holistic therapy practice, and the Boldly Feminine Retreat Company, which specializes in creating events and workshops that facilitate women's health, women's wellness. And Kathy's story, I was reading it, rereading it again recently, and it's so elemental. Like she does, there are parts of the story where I felt she was standing in her earth element, or where she's visiting the ocean and obviously having a water, this watery experience. And then she walks through fire, and then she climbs up a mountain and releases into the air all these sort of new words. And the basis of her story is that when as she approached her 49th birthday, her soul scribbled an idea into her brain that wove its way into her heart. And it was really about self-care and soul care. And I think this is something that many women our age, in our 40s and 50s, and even into our 60s, I imagine that we're so busy with the pacing of life that we, I don't want to say we ignore our own care, but we kind of become disconnected from what matters most to us. In the frenzy of just keeping up with life, we forget that there is some soul care that needs to be done, that we need to nourish ourselves. We need to step back. We need to go into a bit of solitude. And then or I for sure need this. I need a lot of time to come into a place of stillness and solitude so that I can empower myself, so that I can empower others as a mentor, teacher, guide, creativity kindler, right? I need to resource myself so that I can stand for myself and take a stand for others who are moving through their own journey and transformation. So what Kathy did, this was she decided and declared that the time between her 49th and 50th birthdays was the year of Kathy, and where her sole purpose would be grounded in the business of intensive self-care. Like, I remember reading this a couple of years ago and saying, I'm tingling with delight. And those were her exact next words. There was a tingling of delight in my spirit when I said yes to this invitation. So what I'll read now, I'm reading an excerpt from Kathy Gates' chapter, From Life's Fire to Life's Gifts. And one of the things that the setting for this is that she's decided that she's going to go walk on fire. And she's in a place where she's surrounded by women who are also experiencing this. And the power that comes from that, and the power that comes from first knowing that you are going to be the one walking through fire, and the support you feel when you gather with others and other women who are going through similar things that need shedding and burning away. So from Kathy's pages and words to your ears, through my heart, here we go. Women line either side of the walkway, cheering, chanting their support and commitment to light it all on fire. The whole thing was otherworldly. One of the coolest things about the universe is the sisterhood that is created among women who barely know each other, but are bonded together with a familiar experience. Exhaustion, self-care, recovery, all of these are too familiar to too many women, and many of them were here to burn that heaviness away too. Two women I connected with earlier yell out to me personally, "Go Queen Kathy, you've got this. Give it all to the fire." I intend to do exactly that as my footsteps onto the searing red hot coals. My mind goes quiet, blown away by the experience, humbled and in awe of the power of the fire. As the heat rises up from the fire, my energy soars and the fear is replaced with exuberant joy. My confidence skyrockets as I continue to put one foot in front of the other, offering the fire a kiss with each foot. I feel so alive and unstoppable. A group of women wait at the finish line to celebrate my journey through the fire and hug me. I step off the coals, feeling bigger than life, bolder than I had ever dreamed, and literally vibrating with life energy. We cheer and squeal with delight as we witness each other's transforming. I immediately get back in line and walk 3 times across the fire that night, each time a deeper purification as my body continues to give all of the weight it has been carrying to the fire and begins to harness her power. So that's from Kathy Gates' chapter. What did I say it was? From Life's Fire to Life's Gifts. And there's something in this, and we're like in this point in the book where I'm telling you that there's been a thread that's kind of going through. This is the thread that kind of pulls us to the ascent. You know, we've kind of through the other chapters that I mentioned earlier and talked about and celebrated. We move through descent and we move through these murky emotions, grief and sadness, and sort of that isolation of not knowing where we fit in, and the regret that comes. You know, sometimes that life just gives us regret, either from our own choices or from the choices of other people that impact us. And the sadness of things changing and losing loved ones and all of that heaviness that comes here. In Kathy's story begins the upward journey that we're taking as the heroines of our own life. And there are 2 things that I have felt really strongly recently with Kathy's story and the rereading of her story. Is that first, I'm incredibly grateful for the women who are in my life and the men who are in my life too. But in the last 5 years, as I've stepped into this idea that I am a mentor and I'm a creativity kindler, and I've helped women through some of their midlife transformation capture their story ideas and begin to write books. And they have helped me equally become this person that I'm becoming. And the power of women who gather together and share this common experience, I know firsthand. And it's become so obvious and clear to me that this connection that I have with women and women who are willing to gather in circle and share their experiences has impacted and changed my life. It is, I am standing here in front of you today, not only because of my own willpower to be here and motivation to be here, it's because I also feel all the women lining up next to me and greeting me at my own finish line and hugging me as I go along the way. And if we did that for each other, can you imagine, like, I keep feeling this image of millions of women standing beside each other and cheering each other on, and how that could be a ripple that has a huge impact that we can never even imagine. But the other part of it that was so familiar to me right now was the fact that she walked through the fire 3 times that night. 3 times in one night, right? And that the purification that happened each time she did that. Sometimes, and many times in life, as we're letting go and coming into this place of vulnerable surrender and wanting to let go of what doesn't serve us anymore, we are gonna have to give it away many times over. It's not been in my life yet a one and done where I simply just cut the cord and all of that heaviness goes away. Sometimes it feels like all that heaviness has gone away in the moment, but then something, life has that funny way of surprising you with another test or another emotion that's coming to bear that feels like the same thing that you cut away or you thought you cut away. And you're constantly being tested as your brain and your nervous system is rewiring itself, because it's taken decades to wire it that way in the first place. Like it's going to take some time to shed that, to burn it off. And Kathy's courage to greet that, repeat, like, I did it once and it was really amazing. I did it twice. It was really amazing. I did it 3 times and it was really amazing. And I don't know how many times she's done it since then in her own life, in the birthdays that came after 50. I don't know how she did all of that, but just that sliver of time where we give ourselves the gift and the time and the stillness and the space to step from our midlife way of being and the way of being that we structured for probably almost 30 years to, this something beyond midlife where we're not yet fully the crones that we are meant to be, but we're in the liminal space of, okay, if I was this person before up to my 40s and 50s, and I don't know yet who I'm going to be in my 60s or 70s, how am I going to use my 50s as the way of understanding that I don't have to be the same way I was, or I could be. I could take those pieces of me that were super important and bring them forward, or I could let it all burn away and let it go and become this more embodied woman who I'm supposed to be now in all the ways. So thank you, Kathy, for inspiring me to know that and to remember that I already know that. Remember that I already know that, right? We're already born knowing a lot of things, and the soul care that we need in the soul. When we do that, we nourish ourselves. We begin to see things more clearly and can act from this fully embodied state of life. And I want to say joy, but I feel it more like inspiration. I guess that's like a higher frequency of joy. What's a higher frequency than joy? I don't know. So let's find out. Stay tuned. There are a few more chapters coming up over the next couple of days. And, what are you feeling? What are you burning away today? What is something that you could give to the earth, to the water, to the fire, to the air, and let it disperse in all the directions it needs to, in any way that it needs to? I don't know, tell me. I'm curious to know. All right, until the next time, find some joy today and do something playful and creative. Take good care. I'll see you next time.